Got another story for you that I think is one of the most important stories in America because it's such an appropriate, timely story. And it's not one that was planned, it was spontaneous, but I think that that's what makes it so important, so special. And it unfolded the other day on the Ellen DeGeneres show, of all places, which, as you know, if you've been watching me for any length of time, is not my regularly scheduled programming. But I came across this clip, and it's just, there's so much profound thought behind it. And it's not necessarily something that's complicated, it's actually very simple. But it's a concept that so many of us in this country have lost, and I think Ellen absolutely hits the nail on the head here. So this is from the Ellen DeGeneres show the other day.
So anyway, so we get to sit in this very fancy suite because, you know, he owns the whole place. So his suite is fancy, and he's got fancy friends. And I don't mean fancy like Real Housewife fancy. I mean like fancy. Look, I took a video of who was next to me. Yeah, fancy. But during the game, they showed a shot of George and me laughing together, and so people were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? Didn't even notice I'm holding the brand new iPhone 11. But a lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet, but here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again. And exactly. Here's the thing. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay that we're all different. For instance, I wish people wouldn't wear fur. I don't like it, but I'm friends with people who wear fur. And I'm friends with people who are furry, as a matter of fact. I have friends who should tweeze more. And I have... But just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean that I'm not going to be friends with them. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone. Doesn't matter.
Now, you see the response there of the audience, and you see how they're reacting, and that's 100% appropriate. Now, full disclosure, I'm a very conservative Southern minister. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Ellen DeGeneres does. I don't like her lifestyle. I think it's wrong. I think it's sinful. And I would tell her that if she were to ask me. In fact, I've brought that up on the program before when she was in the news, I don't know, a couple of years ago for something. And she and I were definitely on opposite sides of that argument. But what she's talking about here rings true for one very, very important reason. The world needs more of this. She's right. We have gotten to the point where we absolutely will not tolerate differences of opinion. Now, tolerance isn't love. That's one of the maxims of this show, but it's also coupled with disagreement isn't hate. Yes, tolerance is not nearly as important as love. Love is the higher calling, the higher version of this. Tolerance just lets you do whatever you want. Love actually tells you when you're doing something that is wrong or self-destructive. That's the difference. That's what Christians are called to. However, that is coupled with, and this is one of the mottos of my show, that is coupled with the idea that disagreement isn't hate. That just because I don't agree with your stance on something, that doesn't mean that I have to hate you. It doesn't mean that I have to cut off all ties with you or never associate with you again. I have friends, just like most Americans, that have incredibly deep-seated disagreements with me. I've got one guy that's a full-on socialist and doesn't mind telling it to me every time he sees a political post on my page. I've got friends that are from all kinds of different spectrums, walks of life, race, sexual orientation, whatever. I disagree with almost everybody I know, at least on one topic. Obviously, there are some I agree with more than others. But the point is, you don't shy away from having a relationship with somebody because they're different. And this is something that should be abundantly clear and obvious to anybody that has studied the teachings of Jesus Christ. Because if you're looking at the life of Jesus, there were people that he disagreed with all the time. as much as he argued with the Pharisees, which is pretty often based on the very short amount of writing we have of his life recorded in the Gospels and the large portions of that small account that are him arguing with the Pharisees. I mean, I think it's safe to say that he had some pretty deep-seated disagreements with them. He didn't cut them off. He didn't stop talking to them or try to not associate with them. There are even a handful of times in the Gospels where he actually does give them compliments on certain things that they are doing correctly. And another thing about Christ's life, it was not uncommon for him to associate with people that were seen as the less desirable of society. Tax collectors, which is appropriate, they're seen as less desirable in society, and also harlots and people that would not have been viewed as clean or pure by the Jews, and rightfully so. But the point is, he didn't refuse to associate with them merely because they had disagreements with him. I mean, John 4 is a testament to that. In that time, what the Jews did, because they had a religious disagreement with the Samaritans on how to worship God, that kind of thing, they did not associate one with another. And because of that, when Jews were heading north through the northern kingdom, or what used to be the northern kingdom, when they came to Samaria, they would go around that mountain. Took them extra time, but they still did it because they did not associate with Samaritans. Jesus goes straight through the mountain, right where the Samaritans live, and the first thing that he does when he gets there, at least as far as we're given a record of, is he starts having a discussion with somebody that has had 5 husbands and is sleeping with a man that is currently not her husband. Now, he didn't say that that was okay, because again, he was about love, not tolerance. He didn't say that, oh, the lifestyle you're living is perfectly fine and I'm not going to talk to you about that. No, but he still didn't refuse to have a conversation with her. He treated her like she was important, that what she thought mattered, and he moved on from there. And he answered questions that she asked him, theological questions. I think the same thing applies right here with George W. Bush. And I'm not trying to cast one as Jesus and the other one as the woman at the well. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not saying it's a one-to-one comparison. But I'm saying the fact that two people that have deep-seated disagreements with one another can sit down and enjoy a football game is a good thing. And by the way, it's a very American idea, especially with sports. I mean, that used to be something that united us, that whether you voted Republican or Democrat, whether you agreed with the guy's politics or not, you could all sit around either at the stadium or at a sports bar or at somebody's house and hang out and talk about how your favorite team was doing that week. And that's been true of every sport. That's a uniquely American thing. And that's one of the reasons that I said back when the whole Kaepernick thing was going on, that was so poisonous to America, is because we have politicized those common areas that used to bring us together. I'm not saying that they had to be politics-free zones or anything, but merely that it poisoned the water and made it to where we couldn't even sit down and have that commonality, that common hobby anymore. And that's really the issue that we've run into. Because what you just saw there with President Bush and Ellen DeGeneres sitting next to one another, that's what America used to be and what America should be. And the way that Ellen categorized that whole thing, where she said, just be kind to people. And when I say be kind to people, I don't mean be kind to only people that you agree with. That's basically straight out of the Sermon on the Mount. And I'm not saying that that's where Ellen got it, but the idea is eternal. And it should not shock people that because it's good advice that they can both arrive at the same conclusion. That when Jesus says, be kind to one, he says, love your enemies. One of the things that he points out in bringing that teaching forward is, well, the Gentiles even love people that are good to them. It's not a credit to you if you're nice to people that are nice to you, or if you're good to people who you pretty much already agree with and are already in your tribe. That's not anything special. Everybody does that. If you want to be a truly kind person, if you want to be somebody that actually changes hearts and minds, The way to do that is to adopt that mentality. That you're kind to people that don't like you. You're kind to people that don't deserve it. That's the way to actually change somebody's heart. Just in case you were wondering, yes, I am a straight white Christian male and a small government constitutionalist, which means I have no chance of getting any help from the government and wouldn't accept their help even if they offered. Which means I'm going to need you to like and subscribe because my gun collection is not going to pay for itself.